Bold climate action at COP28. GCE O-level results released. Presidential fund to provide scholarships for A-level students. It has been recommended to suspend parliamentarian Diana Gamage, Sujit Pereira and Rohana Bandara for the period of 1 month. Sri Lanka's skilled workers will have job opportunities in the construction sector in Japan. Temporary truce between Israel and Hamas ends.
We move on to those and other stories in detail now. In a compelling address at the 28th session of the Conference of Parties COP28 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Dubai, UAE today, President Ranil Wickremesinghe acknowledged the historical significance of the UN Conference on Human Environment, emphasizing its goal to defend and improve the environment for present and future generations.
He referenced the alarming findings of the UNEP report of 2023 titled Broken Promises, which warns of a 3 degrees Celsius increase in the global temperatures by the end of the century.
At the outset, let me congratulate His Highness and the government of the United Arab Emirates for hosting COP28, and I extend to you my gratitude for your warm hospitality. The UNEP report of 2023, Broken Promises, warns that we are facing a 3 degrees Celsius increase in global temperature by end of the century. It is we, the developing countries, that are both disproportionately vulnerable and disproportionately impacted due to our lower adaptive capacity when it comes to investment in finance, technology and climate. The independent high-level expert group report on climate finance highlighted that at least a US $1 trillion per annum is required to combat climate change. The Transitional Committee on Operationalizing of Funding Arrangements in its report of 4th November 2023 only calls for voluntary contributions to the Loss and Damage Fund. The report makes no mention of the funds needed or who the contributors are. It is silent on the issue of global debt relief. These are interconnected. Nevertheless, 4 days later, the technical dialogue of the first global stocktake highlighted the requirement of a minimum of US $1 trillion per annum. To arrive at a consensus, not to take up a contentious issue, is not a solution. Who are we fooling? Climate justice must be available to all people and all countries. In this background, Sri Lanka will propose a resolution for a climate justice forum, which was agreed upon at the 5th forum of the Ministers of Environmental Authorities of Asia and Pacific, to be moved at the UN Environmental Assembly of 6 February 2024. The Climate Justice Forum will provide us a platform for constructive and proactive engagements. The Secretary General of the UN highlighted that the era of global boiling has arrived. The enemy is at the gates. We are still procrastinating. We are still forming our battalions to take the fight to the enemy. Therefore, this fortnight is critical. It will determine whether we are capable of providing leadership. Let us prove we can do so by action and delivery. Sri Lanka is committed to 1.5 degree Celsius limit. We are facing a drastic situation. To avoid disaster, we must think outside the box. We must invest in the tropical belt to tackle the triple planetary crisis. The tropical belt constitutes 134 countries, covering 44% of Earth's surface, and will by 2030 be home to roughly 50% of the world's population. Most of the world's remaining primary forests are tropical, along with its coral reef systems. The rich biodiversity of the tropical belt enhances biological carbon sequestration and can shield the world from instabilities in weather. Furthermore, the energy generation potential from solar, wind and biomass are significantly higher in the tropics than that of other areas on the earth. Yet, anthropogenic activities in the tropical belt can easily lead to an imbalance in the equilibrium of this region. So much so that some scientists predict that the tropical rain belt could shift away from the equator by the 22nd century. Therefore, at COP27, I propose to establish an international climate change university for capacity building and advancing research necessary to contribute to the crucial efforts to limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We will be operationalizing the ICCU next year.
In the meantime, results of the GCU O-level examination have been released. Commissioner General of Exams Amit Jasundara says that there's a growth in the percentage of a number of students who have qualified for A-level classes. Commissioner General of Exams Amit Jasundara says 230,000 candidates have qualified for advanced level. It is a percentage of 74.31. 13,380 students have obtained 9 A's in their first sitting. It is a significant growth in comparison to previous years. Accordingly, results are available at the website www.doenets.lk and www.results.exams.gov.lk. Minister Susil Premajansa says that the first place has been secured by a student in Mahamaya Girls College in Kandy, while the second place was secured by a student in Wembadi High School in Jaffna. A student at the Royal College Colombo secured the third place. The minister said that issuing results was delayed due to 3 months-long trade union action by the evaluators. Calling application for re-evaluation will commence from the 4th of this month to the 18th of this month. Meanwhile, Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Sampath Amaratunga, says that the students who are qualified for university entrance by 2022 A-level results will be informed via an SMS regarding their university selection and relevant degree courses. Professor Amaratunga said that this is the first time that the Z-score was released in a very short period following the issuance of results of the advanced level examination.
කිසිදු විෂය ධාරාවකට අයත් නොවන සිතුන් 719ක් මේ මූලික අවස්ථාවේදී තෝරා ගැනීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා දරුවන්ට අද දින ඇතුළත මේ අයදුප්පත් යොමු කරපු සෑම දරුවෙකුටම තේරුණානම් තේරුණ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය පාඨමාලාව සියල්ලක්ම විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ප්‍රතිපාදන කොමිෂන් සභාවෙන් ලැබීමට.
එතකොට තමන් අයදුම් කරන නැති පාඨමාලාවකට ලකුණු.
In response to the outcomes of this year's GCE Advanced Level Examination, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has directed the commencement of a scholarship program through the President's Fund for students currently enrolled in the GCE Advanced Level studies. Guided by President's Secretary Samanna Ekanaika, the commencement of this scholarship program is effective from today. To ensure the comprehensive coverage, a meticulous plan has been devised to select 50 students from each of the 100 educational zones spanning the entirety of the island. This initiative aims to furnish scholarships amounting to 6,000 per month for the total of 5,000 deserving students. Significantly, in the preceding year, the Presidential Fund successfully facilitated scholarships for 3,000 students over 24 months. In the year 2022-2023, eligibility of the criteria applying for the scholarships, including the first-time participants of the O-level examination, included passing O-level examination and qualifying for advanced level studies.
CPETCO has revised the price of fuel with effect from midnight yesterday. Accordingly, 90-octane petrol is reduced by 10 rupees per litre. The new price is 346 rupees. 95-octane is increased by 3 rupees per litre and the new price is 426 rupees. Lanka diesel has been reduced by 27 rupees per litre and the new price is 329 rupees. Lanka super diesel is increased by 3 rupees per litre and the new price is 434 rupees. Kerosene oil is reduced by 2 rupees per litre. The new price is 247 rupees. New skills test in the field of construction was introduced today in Sri Lanka for working in Japan as specified skilled workers.
Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment Manoj Nanakara announced this initiative and said the talented Sri Lankans will now have the opportunity to work in Japan and master skills of the construction sector that will contribute not only to Japan's construction centre but also to the future development of Sri Lanka. Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideki, Chief Representative of JICA, Sri Lanka office, Amada Tetsuya, and Chairman of the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment, A.M. Hilmi, joined the minister to announce the launch of the initiative to media with the SLBFE office in Battaramulla. Together with the skill tests in nursing care, food services and agriculture, which have been in place since last year, specified skilled worker skills tests in 4 fields will now be available in Sri Lanka. Speaking at the occasion, Minister Manoj Nanakara said that job opportunities in Japan for foreign nationals will increase exponentially within the next 5 years, and in the backdrop, Japan has opened doors for Sri Lankans with new job opportunities, and Sri Lankan youth should avail of such opportunities by developing necessary skills. Minister further said that the cabinet approval has been obtained for including Japanese language in the school's curriculum targeting Japanese jobs. The Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment has started an island-wide program to teach Japanese language and the Bureau has also taken measures to reimburse the money spent by individuals on Japanese language courses.
Start from congratulating Sri Lankan people on the agreement in principle between Sri Lanka and the official creditor committee, which is co-chaired by Japan, India and France, on the debt restructuring reached 2 days ago. This milestone agreement paves the way for the progress of the first review of the International Monetary Fund program and the approval of the second disbursement, which will bring macroeconomic stability to Sri Lanka and boost series of reforms for sustainable development in this country. We expect the Sri Lankan government continue to pursue comprehensive economic and social reforms, including improvement of governance in accordance with the agreement with IMF, which would definitely help to recover the trust from international society and contribute to boosting the investment and business activities in Sri Lanka. Today is a special day for the Specified Skilled Workers Program in Sri Lanka. Until this year, the skills test required to become SSW has so far been in place in Sri Lanka in 3 fields, that is nursing care, food service and agriculture. And today I am pleased to announce that the test in the construction field will be newly introduced from today. Sri Lanka is now in the process of economic revitalization and overcoming last year's economic crisis through support from the IMF and the implementation of various reforms by the government of Sri Lanka. One of the fundamental causes of the economic crisis was a severe shortage of foreign currency. In response, the government has been diligently working to send workers overseas with the aim of achieving stable foreign currency acquisition and its robust growth, as well as developing the workforce to global standards. The most outstanding of such efforts is the ambitious cabinet decision in August last year to provide Japanese language education in schools, planning to recruit around 345,000 workers for employment in Japan under SSW program during the next 5 years.
We are basically in the process of formulating a new technical cooperation project, which we aim to start sometime early next year. What we are trying to do is not only to promote the number of workers, Sri Lankan workers working in Japan, but also basically to promote decent work in Japan. So when I say decent work, it's about the quality of job experience for all the workers. So that means safety, of course, matching between skills and works. And I think it's very important for all the workers to have sense of growth and development of a career and learning experience and contribution to community and society, and of course joy and happiness of working. That's basically the dignity of working. So that's about the job quality that we would like to promote under this project.
Our journey has been one of a collaboration, dedication and a shared vision. Today marks not just the inception of the SSW Construction Training and Upskilling Program, but a testament to the strength of international partnership. The cooperation between the organizations and the Japanese government, embodied by the presence of the Minister and the Ambassador, reflects a commitment of excellence, innovations and progress. I would also like to express my sincere appreciations to the representatives of JICA for their unwavering support. Your guidance has been instrumental in shaping the venture, and we look forward to continuing the fruitful collaboration. As we embark on this new chapter, our commitment to safety, quality and sustainable remains unwavering. This has strengthened the bridge connecting of our nations through the language of progress and shared prosperity. In conclusion, I extend my deepest thanks to everyone present here, to our partners, support and incredible team behind this initiative. Together, we will build not just a structure, but a lasting bond and a legacy of success.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that Sri Lanka is on the path of enhancing green energy sources that has a wide range of benefits for the island nation. He made these comments in an interview with the Bloomberg on the sidelines of the COP28 summit held in Dubai.
Joining me now for an exclusive conversation is Ranil Wickremesinghe, the President of Sri Lanka. Mr. President, thank you for giving us a little bit of your very busy schedule to try and understand the complexities of greening an economy that's also has issues in trying to grow. So first of all, what are some of your green initiatives?
Well, our greening initiatives will start with encouragement of the renewable energy. Sri Lanka has, I think we will have about 100 gigawatts finally of solar wind power available, which is far more than our needs. So it's a question of investing, and the investors will be able to at some stage export it, either in the form of green hydrogen or into India. We are having energy connectivity with India. So this is just a start.
And Mr. President, is it easy to find that capital? Are investors happy to come into Sri Lanka and give you some of what's needed?
Yes, once we start, which we have already done with 2 or 3 investors we are negotiating, others will come in. I think there is hunger for good investments, and especially a country like Sri Lanka, where we will have excess energy available.
But is this because there are opportunities of a good return, or is this just because it's the right thing to do? Like, what do you tell investors who are thinking about coming?
Investors will not come to do the right thing. They are coming because they think there's a good return. Up for them to judge. We want to open up the sector.
How big do you want it to be? So you mentioned a couple of things, also looking at exporting, possibly to some of your neighborhood. How quickly could that come, that you're doing so much green energy?
It will take a bit of time. The connectivity has to be, we have to start the connectivity. We just agreed on it a few months ago. And in India we'll have a big demand. I mean, there's already Bangladesh, Bhutan and Nepal are connected to India. So that's one. But then we find we will have sufficient even for other purposes.
Sri Lanka also has its economic challenges. So by getting green investment, could that propel actually GDP and also labor?
It will certainly help us with the GDP, but it's a commitment that we get to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Actually, Sri Lanka is also planning to speed up its net zero campaign from 2050 to 2040.
Mr. President, how are the conversations going here at COP28? There was an agreement yesterday in terms of some of the things. It was unexpected because at other COPs there's always been infighting. Is there a willingness of leaders to come together?
Well, we have to show the willingness. We haven't had that many agreements, but this fortnight is crucial. We've got to show the world that we can deliver. That's the question, because there are too many disagreements among us. I don't see the need for that, because if we all go along with the IPCC recommendations, then the differences can be only in the means of implementing, not on the policy to be followed.
But what does success look like to you? Is it money actually being pledged in the right places, or is it agreements on cutting gas emissions? It could be fossil fuels. Is it pledges or money?
There is no agreement on fossil fuel, and there are no pledges on the table either.
But should there be?
There should be at least a commitment. No one is sort of even willing to enter into a commitment, so as the Loss and Damage Fund report showed.
But is it a worry that actually the president of COP comes from big oil, with reports that he was also trying to get funds for advancing fossil fuel interest whilst being in charge of COP?
No, when we selected UAE, we knew that UAE is a petroleum exporting, gas exporting country. So then whoever comes from UAE has to be connected. UAE hasn't got, they don't cultivate tea, so that's the outcome of it.
But do you think still enough can be done?
Well, yes, I think that on this matter enough can be done. Let the UAE, because you have to have a decision. Either if you don't want countries that are involved in the oil industry, then don't have them.
6 artifacts returned by the government of the Netherlands will be displayed for public on the 5th and 6th of this month at the National Museum in Colombo. The artifacts belong to the ancient Kandyan kingdom. Those artifacts were seized by the Dutch during their invasion of the royal palace in Kandy back in 1756. Those were belonging to King Kirti Sri Rajasingha. King's gold sword, silver sword, his golden knife and the famous cannon of Leke Disave and 2 Sinhalese guns were among the artifacts. Director of the National Museum, Tanuja Kasturiarachi, said that the Netherlands authorities have kept those artifacts safely for over 250 years. She further said that Sri Lankan experts are having discussions to ensure their safety in Sri Lanka under a different weather condition than the Netherlands.
The ambassador of Netherlands, Bonnie Hobach, says the handing over of artifacts that belong to Sri Lanka's colonial past is a move that will enhance the cultural ties between the two countries. She made those remarks at an exclusive interview with Rupavahini Corporation today.
Hello there and a warm welcome to a very special interview with Her Excellency Bonnie Hobach, the Ambassador of Netherlands to Sri Lanka and the Maldives. And today we're going to talk about more artifacts which have been returned to Sri Lanka, which will be on display very soon, and also what we can expect in the future. Are there any plans to send more artifacts to Sri Lanka in the future?
First of all, let me thank the Minister of Culture, Dr. Sanuja and her team, and actually the entire Sri Lankan government for the close cooperation to return these 6 objects. There are indeed more objects that we hope to return to Sri Lanka, and the same process will be followed. If there are objects in our state collections that belong to Sri Lanka, there will be research teams with Sri Lankan and Dutch researchers to look at where these objects came from and how they came into our possession, and then hopefully we can return them as soon as possible.
How do you ensure the transfer and safety of the artifacts upon return?
What we hope to do is to work closely with the Sri Lankan authorities. Of course, it's their responsibility to keep the artifacts safe, but I have the utmost respect and trust in the people of the National Museum. They keep very good inventory lists, they're very professional, and they are the ones that will guard these objects with whatever their possibilities are.
Any measures taken to enhance the cultural ties between Sri Lanka and the Netherlands further?
We already have close cultural ties for a long time, but this really has given us an extra impulse to set up training programs and exchange programs. We are now developing 2 master degrees for students from Sri Lanka to come and study in the Netherlands. But it also helps us to look differently at our own past and develop narratives, historical narratives with deeper layers of information. So we both benefit from this cooperation.
Well, Your Excellency, you did mention about scholarships being offered and about more ties between both the countries, but what are the other areas we are working on to build the bilateral relationship between the 2 countries?
Of course, Sri Lanka is a super beautiful country, so a lot of tourists are coming to Sri Lanka, and we really try to promote Sri Lanka as a tourist destination. We have close bilateral consultations in areas such as human rights, but also with regards to the UN. We have economic ties, especially in the area of agriculture. And of course, we also try to promote Sri Lanka as an investment destination. Overall, on all levels, our diplomatic ties are very close and very warm and future-looking.
Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena stresses that a national program should be implemented to prevent death caused by road accidents. He says that attention should be focused to the families who are affected by road accidents. The minister made these remarks participating in a program held yesterday to provide basic relief to a group of victims of road accidents. This has been organized by the National Council for Road Safety in line with the International Road Accident Victims Day, which falls on the 19th of November. 25 such victims were provided with a compensation amounting to 3.7 million rupees. Director of the Emergency Unit at the National Hospital, Dr. A.I. Jagara, delivered the keynote address at the event.
වටින මනුස්ස ජීවිත ශ්‍රී ලංකාව තුල දිනකට 6 දිනක් අහිමි වෙනවා නම් අපි හැමෝගෙම ජාතික අවධානය.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena stresses that at least 5,000 export-oriented Gramadilari divisions should be set up to promote the economy of the country. He made those remarks delivering the Lalit Athunath Mudali commemoration lecture in Colombo yesterday.
A memory of which is being sustained and carried forward through the Mahapala Higher Education Trust Fund established by him in 1981. He is a leader in our lifetime who was a statesman, exceptional high achievement, particularly worthy of emulation by those in public office right throughout. Commemorating the 87th birth anniversary of the late Lalit Athunath Mudali evokes memories of a time when he took on responsibilities as a foremost leader of the government formed in 1977. It was a government which ushered in a period of vibrancy to the nation through introduction of radically changed new model of governance for the country to replace in an order which had been evolving over 3 decades with a slow pace of accumulation of wealth. With a slow pace of accumulation of wealth and prosperity, people were yearning for change and positive growth. The system then introduced have lasted for over 4 decades, which have been included almost 22 amendments to the Constitution. Still we continue, as late Lalit Athunath Mudali raised it in Parliament and outside, how we should deal with the executive presidency. It is a debate that will go on until we bring stability, law and order, and stability to the economy. Following the establishment of the government in 1977, there was understandably a period of reorientation for the country. This was to adapt to the new order of governance, which in terms of the economy was required to embrace a policy of a market economy. That was the biggest change, which changed the course of our path. It is well recognized that as minister responsible for the key portfolios of trade and shipping from 77 to 84, late Honorable Lalit Athunath Mudali fully streamlined or where necessary established institutions without loss of time. This was to vigorously pursue the 77 government's policy of establishment of a market economy. First time transformation in the entire subcontinent. Since opening of the economy, Colombo, which had been a cosmopolitan port city with a mild business milieu, has transformed itself into a commercial city within a regional megapolis. This being formed in its vast hinterlands. During this time, the Colombo harbour experienced a vast expansion in line with advancements in port technologies. operational technologies, techniques and other parameters of international trade and shipping. This strategic intervention had been at the nick of time to ensure that Colombo Port maintain further its establishment level of primacy. It was showcased to the population at a large as the sparkling new Chaya terminal at that time.
We'll be back with foreign news after a short break.
We move on to foreign news now. Fighting has resumed in Gaza after the 7-day temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas expired. The Israeli military has dropped leaflets warning residents in parts of southern Gaza to flee for their safety. As bombing resumes, both sides have blamed each other for the violence restarting after a week in which more than 100 hostages were released by Hamas in exchange for 240 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says over 100 people have been killed since the temporary ceasefire ended on Friday morning. Rockets have also been fired into southern Israel from Gaza. Earlier, the US warned Israel that the massive loss of civilian life seen in northern Gaza should not be repeated in the south.
We are now looking at sports news. We are looking at cricketing news. At first, Uganda has qualified for the T20 World Cup scheduled to be held in USA and West Indies next year. Uganda is the 4th African country qualifying for this tournament.
At the qualifying round held in Namibia, Uganda won 5 matches out of 6, becoming the 2nd of the points table. However, Zimbabwe lost hope of being qualified for the World Cup tournament.
That's it for tonight's English News Telecast. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Good night.